Hola clase. In this unit, we will be looking at the verb estar and the formation of the present progressive. Bien, so you've learned how to conjugate the verb estar already. We don't need to go through that again. But to form the present progressive, you have the verb estar and the gerund of the active verb. Those in Spanish end in ando for AR verbs and yendo for ER and IR verbs. So for instance, to say, I am speaking, to speak is hablar. So I am speaking, estoy hablando. They're sleeping, dormir is to sleep, están durmiendo. Bien, so this tense, the present progressive, just as the name has two words, the form also has two words. You need the present tense of estar and the ing form of the verb, ando or yendo. Bien. So we could say, for instance, ¿qué está haciendo Luis? Luis está buscando un hotel. ¿Qué está haciendo Ana María? Ana María está escribiendo una carta. Bien. ¿Qué están haciendo los gatos? Los gatos están jugando en la sala, etc. Now, there are some stem changes. So IR verbs that were stem changing in the present tense will also be stem changing in this form. And the stem change will be O to U, like dormir, or E to I, like pedir. So those will be your two stem changes possible. And here we have some of the more common verbs conjugated for you. Durmiendo, pidiendo, prefiriendo, etc. Also, with ER and IR verbs, if the stem ends in a vowel, like leer, you can see there leer, or creer, then the I from this ending up here, this I from yendo, needs to be spelled as a Y. These verbs are not irregular. It's simply a spelling convention in Spanish. So this I has to be spelled as a Y. Leer, leyendo. Sounds the same as if I wrote it with an I, leyendo. But the Spanish spelling rules tells us that if we have an unaccented I between two vowels, it must be spelled as a Y. This facilitates the pronunciation and the reading as well. Creer, creyendo. Oír, oyendo. Traer, trayendo, etc. So these are the two irregularities that you have to be aware of. IR verbs that can stem change. All of these are IR verbs. And ER and IR verbs that can have a Y instead of an I. This second rule can never affect AR verbs. Why? Because if we look up here, the AR verb doesn't have an I, so that there's no I to change into a Y. That Y that we saw is this I right here, spelled as a Y. ¿Está bien? So, leer, leyendo, creer, creyendo, etc. We use the present progressive a little bit less frequently in Spanish than in English. We still use it, of course. And we use it especially to talk about things as they are happening or occurring. Most of the time, we prefer simply the simple present tense, but we do use it in Spanish as well, which is why we teach it. So for instance, a typical example would be seeing a picture with different people doing different things. Let's say a beach scene and people are swimming, people are sunbathing, some people are reading, some people are talking. Describing what they're all doing in that picture, you would use the present progressive. ¿Está bien? You could say, for instance, tres personas están nadando. Una señorita está leyendo. Dos jóvenes están jugando fútbol. Varias personas están pescando, etc. So you could talk about describing a picture and using the present progressive to tell what everybody is doing. Muy bien. So do these exercises and you can practice on Quizlet a little bit. And buena suerte. Hasta luego.